Dude, all I want to be able to do is use her 1 in 3 or her 3. Oh my god. Wait, that was insane looking.
Creatures multiplying. There must be a colony.
Yo, actual transformative experience right now on Valby from the first run. Oh, dude, look at the damage on the boss. Holy. Yo guys, what is up? Max in our first Descendant guide, and today we're going to be going over my updated build for Valby. Now, Valby is actually in one of the best spots she's ever been with this most recent patch. Valby received numerous buffs, and a lot of the things that are being added in the new season are just fantastic for her. Valby has shot up from, for me personally, not in the top 5 Descendants to actually being a top 5 Descendant right now. With her buffs to her Waterplay module, Valby just feels so much better to use. So we're going to be updating our guides for her. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let's get right into it. So the first thing to talk about is Waterplay. Now, the buff to this might not be immediately apparent. However, if we go and look at the patch notes, one of the biggest things that they did is they changed its damage interval from ticking every 1 second to every 0.5 seconds. This is double damage for this module. Now, Waterplay has always been great as a module to use on Valby. The issue is it was never able to fully compete with the damage of her normal one, because the normal one could stack and you could kind of like stack it on top of each other for more damage. And it would just kind of like out DPS Waterplay. Waterplay was kind of this like quality of life option that you could use, but it was never all that great. Now Waterplay just feels like, to me, the standard way to play Valby. Not for bossing, but for just normal mobbing. It's got 500 modifier, which is massive. Like if we look at her like normal 1 modifier, it's 139. So it's way more damage than the normal one. And now it's ticking twice as often. So it's doubled its damage. And when you put range modules on this, it expands how wide and how far this goes. A lot of skills just change like how wide they go. So for example, now if we use my Waterplay with range, it goes that far. And one of the best things about this module is it goes through walls. It doesn't have any sort of like object collision. So if you are like behind cover, you can use it. If you're using it around a wall, you can use it. You can use it while you're in the air. It is just really, really, really nice. And you can stack them, so you're not losing out on the ability to stack. Like, look how much area we've covered just by using this one. And we could get it on a really little cooldown, so we can spam it. It's just such quality of life for her. However, one of the best feeling things going on for Waterplay right now, in addition to all that, is the addition of Power Beyond. Now, I've used this on a lot of builds. One of the really nice things about Valby with this is a lot of her damage is from stacking, where if you just get 1 of your ones down, it'll do a lot of damage. But if you get 2 of your ones down on top of each other, all of a sudden, you know, now you're dealing double damage. And you can stack these. And what's so great about this toe is Valby used to have toe, she lost it. Now with Power Beyond, you can just pull all of the enemies and cluster them onto your damage on your stacking ones. And so her clear is just really phenomenal. And with the setup, I'm wearing the wrong reactor right now because we were doing bossing. But if you're wearing a cooldown reactor, that's still not the right one. There it is. If you're wearing a cooldown reactor with our current setup, let me change my Arche Tuning to our actual non-crit setup. This is on a 1.6 second cooldown. So, like, you can spam this pretty much infinitely, which is really, 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 really nice. So for modules with Waterplay, we want as much cooldown as possible because a lot of her damage is on overlapping this. And in order to overlap this, we want as much range as possible, which she has 300 max expandable range. So we have to use skill extension plus amplification control. We're going to be using double cooldown mods. We are going to be using the mage set. Unlike Freyna, who can get away with like out using an HP mod on, I am going to be rocking an HP mod. If we're not using an HP mod, we get to like 7 or 8k HP, which is just too low in my opinion. If you want to get rid of the HP mod, I would just replace it with Decimator here. But I'd prioritize HP because survivability is important to me personally. Now, for the other modules, we're going to be rocking all of the damage, focus on fusion, fusion amplification, focus on non-attribute, and non-attribute amplification. The like one tester spot was what to use here. I was originally going to go Decimator, but skill extension just ends out being a whole lot more damage than Decimator. Not only does it give us more ticks of her one, but it also gives more uptime of overlap. And so skill extension is like the clear choice here. It nets us out significantly more damage than Decimator. And then obviously we're using Power Beyond. For her Void Erosion build, the big change that we're going to do is we're going to take off amplification control because we don't need that much range in Void Erosion. We don't need to hit her 300, and that we're just going to replace with Decimator. So that's really the only difference between her Void Erosion build and her main build, is just swapping amplification for Decimator to squeak out a little bit extra damage. Her next build dimension is Hydro Pressure Bomb. I'm going to be totally honest with you, I don't really use this build anymore. Hydro Pressure Bomb did get buffed. It got significantly more damage, and it hits really, really hard. If we, for example, summon some enemies here, let's make these guys level 190, group them up. And now, with the Hydro Pressure Bomb, we do more damage to these guys, but we also get like a damage multiplier whenever we land on them. So there was... how much damage was that? On watching that recording back, we just hit for 19 million damage. So yeah, Hydro Pressure Bomb is doing a lot of damage, but it does require a bit of setup. Thankfully, for this module, Power Beyond also helps a ton with grouping enemies up, so you can just absolutely slam on them. Only difference with this build is we're going to be making sure that we get conservation. This would be like normally max ranked. I don't have the catalyst to max rank this, but you're going to be spamming a lot on this, and we don't really care about the loss in modifier because you already have like basically 3k modifier. So conservation is really, really nice so that you can constantly just be jumping at all times, which is what you're going to want to do. And it's got a little bit of a heavier mana cost. So that is why we're going to basically, only difference is we're throwing on maximize conservation here. And then we also throw in power increase just because we really want this to hit hard. We don't want to ever have to do this ability multiple times to enemies. So power increase is going to net us like an 18% more damage than if we were going to use another cooldown mod. And lastly, for her bossing build, now Valby is putting up very, very fast times for Stormhanger. The fastest times that I've seen for Valby are around 30 seconds. And if I wasn't leaving to Germany in a few hours, I would grind out the reactor that I would need for that. But basically, this is a like suicide build where you are going to be using your 4. A lot of her abilities are like very inconsistent at hitting Stormhanger. Stormhanger is hanging in the air, and like the normal strategy of like stacking up the 1s with the bullet bounce and like doing all that, they just like don't do damage to him. And so the real only option for Valby bossing on him is using Laundry Bomb. This is a 4th ability. It is affected by your fire rate on your weapon and your mag size and firing Fiesta. So if we are like using this Python, which I was rocking with firing Fiesta, all of the like mag sizes that we can fire her 4 a ton. And her 4 hits really, really, really hard. I was getting it to tick for like over 7 million damage a tick on Stormhanger. The thing that's very inconsistent about it is you need low life so that you can die, so that you can reset the fight. But at the same time, if you're dying too quickly, then you don't get all of your damage out. And then if you don't get all of your damage out, you only have 3 options. You only have your 3 tries. And so it's like pretty inconsistent where the like Laundry Bomb is tough to aim, and it's crit RNG, and he can kill you before you get all of your 4 out. So you can get some like really min-max super fast kills with Valby, but I'd be lying to you if I said it was consistently fast. If you're like really looking to farm Stormhanger, I would check out Nell or Jaber. Those are my 2 favorites. Yet I have yet to try Keelan on him. But some big things here. We're going to be rocking quad crit mods for as much damage as we can possibly get out. With that, we need to rock supply moisture. You want to place your 1 down on the ground or your 2 so that you are on water when you are using your 4 to maximize your skill critical hit rate. We're also going to be using maximize skill and maximize power. This is why this is like a suicide build, because your cooldown on your 4th ability is going to be 200 seconds. You're not going to wait that out. The fight will be long over. And so you basically just are waiting for the boss to kill you, so it resets your 4, and then you can do that again. We need as much duration as we can without sacrificing any modifier. So, for example, the base modifier is only 50 continuous damage. If we were to use like a maximized duration here, we'd lose 20%. We're almost losing like half of our damage unrocking a maximized duration. So we're going to use MP accelerant so we don't lose any modifier with skill extension, which with our full buffs up on our 4th ability is going to give us a 13-second duration, which is like 5 extra seconds of additional damage, which is really nice. But that's for every single shot, and you're shooting out like 30 plus shots. So duration is one of the biggest damage increases that you can get for this build. Trust me, I was doing this without MP accelerant, and I was not killing him basically. And as soon as I put on MP accelerant plus skill extension, I was all of a sudden getting a bunch of kills. Now the last mod's a bit awkward. There's not a super great option here. Walk a tightrope is good because you're always going to be low because he's going to be hitting you, and that gives you a 30% extra skill power modifier, which is pretty massive when our base is only 50. The real kicker here of what like stacks up all of this damage though is the damage increase per laundry bomb. It's why like when you're hitting him, your damage is going to ramp up so much. And so we do need a skill expansion just so that we can make sure that all those laundry bombs are hitting him. But because we're respawning, for example, if you tried to go hyper focus, after you shoot, these things are lasting so long that when you're respawning, hyperfocus is already getting procced. So it only works for your like first death. It won't work for any death after that. And I just wasn't getting good results with Dangerous Ambush. So I personally recommend Walk a Tightrope. You could mess around with all of them and see which one works for you, but I'd personally recommend Walk a Tightrope. The other downside of using hyperfocus here is you really want to get off all of your shots before he's even attacking you. That way you can kind of guarantee your last shots are going out as he's kind of attacking you. Hyperfocus means that you need to wait for him to spawn and start attacking. And so when I was rocking hyperfocus, so many of my kills would be, or so many of my deaths would be before I get all of my shots out, because I'd have to wait for him to be able to start doing damage to me to start doing damage to him. So it just made kills feel worse. But yeah, that is the bossing setup. For guns and stuff, for the bossing build, you're going to want to use the Python. The reason we're using the Python and not like a Peacemaker or a Blue Beetle is one, when you swap to the 4, you lose any weapon buffs. So like Blue Beetle, Peacemaker buffs don't even work. And the Python will debuff, so it'll strip resist on weak point hits. But it also gets Firing Fiesta, which is a massive damage increase. It lets us fire our 4 way more. Then you're going to want double mag size mod, edging shot, and better insight if you are going to try to use hyperfocus. You don't really need these if you're not. And then some extra reload speed just so that you can reload quickly to get into your Firing Fiesta. The cores on this do not matter. They don't affect the 4th weapon at all. So it doesn't matter if your Python is cored or not. And then the other thing to mention is using the Peacemaker. This is great with like the normal build. I'm not rocking anything special with it. I've just got like a Valby 4 build on, so fire rate, sharp precision, and double mag size, so that when we're using her 4 with this thing, it'll deal a bunch of damage. I'm really not using my weapon very much on Valby. However, if you are looking for like a more weapon build, this is what I'm normally rocking for like blasting enemies with. For your reactor, for most content, both Hydro Bomb and Waterplay, you're going to want skill cooldown plus fusion skill power boost ratio. For the bossing, the real like important thing is that you get additional skill attack when attacking a Colossus plus crit damage. I didn't have crit damage, but crit damage would be the highest damage power boost you could get. If you can't get crit damage, you don't want non-attribute, you'd want fusion. So like this reactor is not all that great. I would prioritize crit the most, and then fusion, and then non-attribute, in addition to Colossus. But if you wanted to squeak out a two death kill, basically, or like only, I guess technically only a 1 death kill, you're really going to want to make sure that you get a great reactor for this. And then for all of her builds, I'm just rocking mage set. Make sure that you're casting your 3rd ability twice before you start shooting with your 4th ability, so that you get the 3-stack proc of Enlightened Mage for the most damage. For the Arche Tuning, for the mobbing build, we're going to be going up and pathing towards duration so that we can get an extra tick on her damage abilities. Grab the cooldown with non-attribute cohesion for stacking skill power damage, and then we just grab some extra range and more skill power here. For bossing, we don't care about cooldown because we're dying. We're like dying to reset our cooldown. So we're going to put on final preparations up in the top slot for that extra skill power and range whenever we're attacking an enemy with our 4th. And then we're just grabbing as much damage as we can, some extra range, some extra duration, and the like skill critical hit rate, skill critical damage nodes there. For the Arche Tuning board, for mobbing and most content, I use Arche Circulation plus Probabilistic Recovery System and Deploy Resonance. Gives us an extra bit of duration for her dots, some more MP and HP recovery, and extra cooldown. For bossing, you just want to swap to Toxic Focus rounds so that you can get the stacking focus rounds. When you're hitting with full stacked focus rounds, you can strip resistances with your Python even more, which is going to be important in like the downtime, basically when you spawn and while you're waiting to die, you can just shoot your Python and strip resistances so that your 4th ability is going to be dealing more damage. Guys, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. By the time this video goes live, I'll probably be away at Gamescom, checking out some Borderlands 4 in Germany. So stay tuned for more videos, and I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.